Hello everybody, I just got done teaching a yoga class and now I'm about to teach y'all some astrology. Today we're talking about Venus aspecting the planet Neptune. What does it mean when these two planets are in relationship with one another, when they're making a contact to one another? I got my handy dandy notebook. Shout out to this notebook. It's beautiful. I want to read it to y'all, but I don't want to take up too much time. We're talking about Venus aspecting Neptune. So what does the planet Venus represent? Venus represents love, money, art, charm, beauty, our social life. Venus answers the question how we relate to one another. How do we relate in our relationships, whether that's business, platonic, or romantic? How do we create or instill balance and harmony in our lives? Venus talks about attraction, magnetism, our values, our self-worth, and our resources. The planet Neptune, on the other hand, is the planet of the dreamer, the visionary. Neptune rules all things that aren't quite clear. It's very nebulous. Neptune deals with the heavenly realms, with spirituality, music, art. It is the higher octave of Venus, and it rules over compassion, sensitivity, divinity, ghosts, spirits, fantasies, magic. Neptune answers the question how we connect and see beyond the ego or the tangible, the material realm. Neptune also answers the question, how can we transcend? How do we merge with higher consciousness? So when we're talking about Venus aspecting Neptune, first we have our positive aspects. That'll be the conjunction, the trine, and the sextile. I, for one, have Venus conjunct Neptune in my natal chart. I have Venus at like 7 degrees Aquarius. I have Neptune at 1 degree Aquarius. And what it means when you have a positive aspect between Venus and Neptune. This can indicate that an individual is highly creative and artistic. This can relate to music. This can be painting, even photography. This individual may have a gifted hand when it comes to film, when it comes to makeup. It's all about something that is alluring, something that is magical, the ethereal energy, hypnotizing beauty. So people with this aspect are gifted in their creativity by making things appear alluring or even making themselves or other people more beautiful and more ethereal in a way. This individual themselves can be very alluring. They can be magnetic. They can be ethereal. They may be attracted to someone who is spiritual. When we're talking about Venus, we talk about relationships. So whether that's a romantic, business, again, or platonic relationship, this individual may be attracted to somebody who is spiritual, someone who is ethereal, mystical, or magical in any way, especially with how they use their creativity. So this is somebody who always falls for the artist or the dreamer, the visionary. An individual with Venus aspecting Neptune in their natal chart may have an intense connection with their faith and their spirituality. Prayer is very important to them. Praise and worship may be very important to them. And it also becomes a theme where they need a relationship that is rooted in faith, that is rooted in spirituality. That could be very important to them in their business, platonic, or romantic relationship connections. Continuing with our positive aspects, Venus aspecting Neptune defines an individual who sees relationships as a vehicle to transcend the mundane. These relationships are all about enhancing creativity and becoming closer to God. An individual with this aspect may crave connections that help them feel closer to God. They may crave connections that help them search for or seek and maybe even create magic in their lives or in the external worlds around them. They're looking for connections that help enhance their creativity. And this person may even find themselves in professions that deal with interior design, cooking, almost like creating something out of nothing. With Venus aspecting Neptune, I like to think of on earth as it is in heaven. Again, it's the dreamer, the visionary, the idealist. So it's bringing all these ideas, all these things in the mind, in the heaven of our mind, down into earth, into our reality. All right, so yes, professions with this aspect again include interior design, cooking, creating something out of nothing, musicians, pianists, people who are extremely gifted when it comes to using musical instruments definitely factor in here because that skill is an ability that comes from the divine. Anything that requires compassion, empathy, imagination would be a profession where they do very well in. And again, helping the less fortunate. So that requires compassion. Neptune rules over Neptune rules over so much, but sometimes Neptune rules over the people in society that are forgotten. So people with this aspect love to almost be the martyr or the person who is self-sacrificial in a sense. They like to help the less fortunate, the people that are homeless, abused, helping addicts. They like to create beauty out of disillusionment or create beauty out of dejection. So moving forward, we're going to tap into the dissonant aspects, the square and the opposition. If you have Venus in your chart, making a dissonant aspect to Neptune, that's the square or the opposition. You may be an individual who finds themselves in relationships that actually challenge your faith or challenge what you believe. This is a person who has a hard time putting what they feel or what they believe over the opinions of others. Again, it's that self-sacrificial element. So it's almost like you have to sacrifice what feels good to you. Venus is the planet of pleasure in order to achieve some ideal or some dream, some vision that you have in your mind, but that may not actually be tangible or real when it comes to the relationships that you find yourself in. There may be tension between their desire for beauty and elegance and their desire to escape reality. This individual may struggle with abuse themselves. They may struggle with addiction themselves to drugs or maybe alcohol. You can even be addicted to sex or to food. They may often find themselves in relationships that exacerbate these addictions. So the partners that you tend to be with are partners that make you drink more alcohol, or partners that make you have more sex if you're somebody who's trying to stop, or you start to see that sex is taking you away from reality. You could be with a partner who maybe helps entice your addiction to drugs. Maybe they're supplying them, maybe they have easy access, or maybe that's just something y'all do together. So that's something you have to be careful with, this aspect. Venus making a harsh aspect to Neptune in your natal chart. I'm just going to repeat what I wrote here. This individual may struggle with abuse or addiction to drugs and alcohol. They may often find themselves in relationships that may exacerbate their addictions or their tendency to fall into escapism. These relationships can cause self-undoing. Neptune is the planet of self-undoing. And self-undoing is good in the sense when we talk about shedding different parts of the ego in order to get clear on who we are, on a soul level, but also self-undoing where you may lose yourself in this relationship. You may lose aspects of your identity that felt important to you or that really help you express who you truly are at your core. So that's something you want to be careful with. They may also attract partners. Again, remember, this is not just romantic relationships. This could be business. This could be platonic. This could even be familial dynamics. Venus harshly aspecting Neptune. If you have this position in your natal chart, you may be an individual who also attracts partners where information is missing. So this could be like you've been with this person and all out of nowhere you come to realize that they have been married for 20 years or they have 2 kids somewhere across the world or something like that. So you may attract partners where information is missing, where things are not always clear, where there may be some financial issues. Maybe your partner is hiding money from you. If this is business, you could have gone into business with this person thinking that they're trustworthy and reliable. Whole time they were money laundering or hiding the checks and stealing the tax money from the business, whatever it is that people do, right? Financial issues, just anything where the partner may be hiding information, where they're not completely being honest. It could be about money or what they do to acquire elegant items. So this could be somebody who has top designer clothes, top designer shoes, bags, whatever, and all their friends think that they're working hard for it when really they're doing X, Y, and Z to get these items and just have this appearance of being luxurious and elegant or whatever. They may, yes, lie or just hide information about what they need to do to achieve certain beauty standards. This aspect can indicate plastic surgery, Botox, lip fillers. Again, Venus is the planet of beauty, and Neptune is the planet of things that aren't necessarily tangible, things that are outside of our everyday reality. And sometimes to achieve these beauty standards, or when people, because not we, but when people do plastic surgery, when people get Botox or lip fillers, whatever, do whatever you want. But in relation to this topic here, astrologically, you're creating an illusion, and that's what the planet Neptune rules over. It rules over illusions. It rules over deception. It rules over rose-colored glasses. It rules over beauty. It rules over things that are ethereal, or like, oh my gosh, how did her body get like that, and how did this, and it's magic. That's Neptune. Continuing on, Venus aspecting Neptune. On the harsh end, if you're having a harsh aspect between these two planets, you may find yourself in relationships or love relationships that can affect an individual's mental health, relationships that may even lead to imprisonment or feelings of being trapped or feelings of being held prisoner. So that's something you want to look out for in these relationships. Gaslighting can be a big theme here. Illusions of grandeur. You got with this person, he made all these promises to you, and he lied. When you got with him, it was a complete different story than what he portrayed himself to be or herself to be, right? This can be trauma bonding, suicidal ideation. And I put that here because with this aspect, as well as with Venus aspecting Pluto, please go watch that video if you haven't already. You may find yourself in a relationship or attracting people who literally feel like they cannot live without you, or they can't live without you. I will die without you. I'm going to kill myself if we can't be together. So that's something you definitely want to be careful of if you have this aspect in your chart. And you also don't want to be that person. If you have Venus making a square or opposition to Neptune in your chart, don't be that person to other people. Do some soul searching. You can live without that person being in your life. Last but not least, I wanted to emphasize that you need strong boundaries with this position. All individuals with Venus aspecting Neptune should focus on using relationships as a vehicle to enhance their creativity and their connection with the divine and with spirituality in general. How can this relationship help me transcend karma? These are some questions that you need to pose yourself if you find yourself in a relationship that has this synastry aspect. If you have this aspect in your natal chart, you have to ask yourself in your relationships, how can this relationship help me transcend karma? Whether that be financial karma, whether that may be romantic karma, even platonic karma. We have karma with the friend groups that we find ourselves in. This can be karma with the family dynamics that you find yourself in. How can this relationship help me transcend my karma? How can my relationships help me to extend more compassion and more empathy towards all beings everywhere, right? What are the relationships in my life teaching me about giving and receiving unconditional love? Those are some questions I want to leave you with if you have this aspect. Thank you for tuning in and watching this video. Again, feel free to go watch my Venus aspecting Pluto video. I got a couple up there and I got a couple more. Check the link in the bio or in my description if you want to learn astrology for yourself. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you next time.